we want to transition into the second part of our meeting. So now that we've had a little bit of fun and everybody has an opportunity to sip on their margarita, we wanted to introduce Zac, who is our Steelcase Technology Specialist. So today, Zac is going to be sharing a little bit more with us around smart and connected spaces. So Zac's brief bio is that Zac is is currently living in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he started with Steelcase in 2006, working as a part of their IT help desk. So I'm sure there were a lot of great stories that we'd love to hear on that, Zac. After helping countless people with their printer issues, he transitioned to a role responsible for the technology in Steelcase's work-life centers across North America. From there, he was asked to join the product development team that is responsible for Steelcase's smart and connected technology solutions as a technical architect. This work brought him to work with many Steelcase teams abroad in places like Paris, Munich, Kuala Lumpur, Shanghai, and Tokyo. He now lends his expertise towards helping organizations to understand Steelcase's approach to solving workplace needs through thoughtfully designed technology solutions. So fun fact about Zac himself is he is a self-described IT nerd, but he enjoys being outdoors and backpacking with his wife. So with that, we are going to welcome our very active chatter today, Zac. So you are up, Zac.
Excellent. Hey, thanks, Lori. We got to get that bio updated. No longer love of the outdoors, love of margaritas, right? If you could just pencil that in for me.
There you go.
That'd be
Got
awesome.
it.
Thank you. Yeah, so hey there, everybody. So as Lori mentioned, I've had a lot of different roles at Steelcase, been here for a long time, and really the only through line is this technology piece. And that's really a passion of mine. Like she said, consider myself an IT nerd. And why I like doing this so much is that in this role here, I just get to talk about our technology solutions all day long. So when they offered, hey, could you, do Wind Down Wednesday? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Plus, this should go a lot better once everybody's got a drink in their hand. So they asked me to just kind of talk through this. And I think that we can kind of cover this at a pretty high level. I'm happy to, talk with any of you in more detail if you'd like. So I'm just going to kind of tell you what I think is like my side of the story and just kind of leave like the official marketing to the side here. So, really, as I kind of work my way through my margarita over here, I just want to tell you, generally, this is the entire view of the world from Steelcase's perspective and our technology solutions. So I'll give you a second to just kind of soak on this. I wet my whistle here. You can see there's a few different core needs that we solve for here. So these bubbles inside of our smart connected ecosystem represent really the 4 different needs that Steelcase believes we can solve by having technology. We typically go through this research, exploration, try to understand what are the different issues, tensions, problems in the workplace, and then approach it with furniture or architecture and things like that. But there's some of them that are just really difficult to do so. I think that the best way to do it is to thoughtfully integrate technology experiences. So just really quick at a high level, these are experiences around wayfinding and scheduling, well-being, collaboration, and workplace analytics. And if you feel like you've already got these solved for your office or for your workplace, like you can sign off. Like if you don't have any of those needs, then that's great. Good for you. We think a lot of organizations struggle with these particular things, and so we've developed these technology solutions around them. Also, just to call it out, we have a partnership with Microsoft, and so that works well because it makes it easy on your IT department and easier for you because it integrates with tools that you already know. And that's another big part of this. We want these to be easy and simple and almost blend into the background. So, there's a couple different ways that we're going about this. And this next thing I want to tell you about is a new program that we've launched to help tackle some of the uncertainty around bringing people back into the office. And so we call this program the Data-Driven Workplace Return. And we know that there's just so many open-ended questions. When is the right time? To what extent? How can we do this? And how can we keep our finger on the pulse as this happens? So this is a way that you can really try to get through some of the fear and get to the facts is really the whole idea behind this. So this whole program is a new way for organizations to try our solution called Workplace Advisor. And that really is going to give you better reporting, and it gives you almost like a workflow for your facilities and real estate teams by identifying things that are happening with the employee experience, identifying issues. And then what we do in this program is not only collect all this data, but we can do a few specific things. So on the right-hand side there, you can see through this list, we're going to be reporting in a couple different ways. So one of them is about you defining certain policy points about how you want your spaces to be used in the workplace. So if you've got distancing protocols or maximum capacities or different density levels, we can set that in our system, and then the system will know when any of those might be breached. And then we can also email that to you in a weekly workplace report. Basically, it shows up in your inbox, not just with data, but with suggestions from our experts. People who have background in facilities management are on the team, as well as people who are data scientists. So they can kind of pull together all these different data points and not just give you like a spreadsheet, but instead say, we think that this might be what's happening, and here's how we can work together to solve it. And then that even ties into working with the NBS team to say, let's put this plan into action. So that's why we really think that solving this difficult need about understanding what's happening can be solved by technology. So a couple other things about it. This is also really easy to implement. So it's 90 days only for those who've got like commitment phobia, which is a real thing. I looked that up. So it's really simple. It's just a 3-month experience. It also is easy to deploy in that it doesn't connect to your IT network, which I know I've got a lot of love for that group of people, but they're often very process oriented, and it's very arduous at times to bring on new technology. So we don't have to connect to their network. We can use cellular network connections just like your phone. And then the last thing that makes this really easy is it's a simple one number as a price. So we're going to bundle everything together. So you don't have to think about hardware, subscription, connectivity. So again, we're trying to make this easy because we know you've got like 10 other things that you're juggling as it relates to this crisis. And so we just think that this could be something to help you understand what's happening, make sense of it, and really find a way forward, right? We know that this is something that actively people are saying, I need help. I'm unsure of what's happening, and this is a way to lend our expertise and really tailor the experience for you. There's a couple different details that I want to go through about how this works. So across the top here, this is a really simplified, like not even a technical diagram, but basically the way that it works is we deploy sensors to space. They are small, innocuous motion sensors, right? They don't have cameras, they don't have microphones, they literally don't have the hardware to record anything other than occupancy and what we refer to as efficiency, which is how many people are in the room. That gives us that density data. And so that tells us, what's really happening inside a space. And then kind of going across the top there's a couple ways that you'll consume it. One, you get like an online dashboard that you can log into, view all the data. You can export the data, pull it into Power BI or however you want to slice and dice that. You can do that. It's also available in a interactive map. So like a heat map, you can see a top-down 2-dimensional visual, and you can kind of see what's happening and like the spatial relationships between spaces, where one isn't being used, maybe there's others that are nearby. And then also the weekly workplace reporting, right? So this is, again, not trying to put work on you, but trying to alleviate work and give your facilities and real estate team information, insights, and almost like breadcrumbs to follow, right? They can say like, hey, I got the report this week, and it looks like that northeast end of our building, there's still issues over there. We should go talk with this team. Maybe there's something happening. So to give you an idea of what that report looks like that's at the bottom of the slide here. This is that report. It's a little basic right now. We're working to add in more visuals to it, but the basic concept is we set your benchmarks, and then we have a couple different high-level key metrics, the overview points there. And then you can see on the right-hand side that this is about trying to call out specific issues. So these are the overcapacity rooms. This is where you might have said, we can only have 50% occupancy, And these are all the rooms where they're going over. And so, like I had said earlier, this is like a punch list for you. This should be added to the workflow that your facilities and real estate teams work from. And that's how we've adopted it at Steelcase, and a number of other organizations who are lucky enough to already have the system deployed have said, this data is almost like the lifeblood of our whole strategy right now. Everything that we do is now reinforced by information and not just hearsay. So that's a really big part of it, is that this is trying to contribute to your efforts or enhance your practice. And we think that data is really the source of truth, and that's where everything should start from. So with all that, really the whole idea is that it's a tailored experience. So that's the side of the smart and connected ecosystem that's tailored for what we term as the decision-making side of the house, people who have to make those difficult choices about the real estate. And the other side is, of course, the individual users, right? People like myself, right, who go into the office and might have new concerns about how to navigate the workplace. And so the other way that we have implemented technology is to kind of alleviate some of these concerns around interacting with shared surfaces. And we call this whole experience the hands-free workplace experiences. And so there's a few of them that, just to call out how technology can help solve either a couple of different needs or again, just make people feel a little less anxious. So this first one that's called out is the visual cues about density. And you can see in the graphic there, she's in front of our Live Map solution. And Live Map is really almost like a flight board at an airport, or I've actually heard some people call it like a digital trailhead. You can see this woman, she's kind of coming into the space, she's pausing for a moment to kind of understand, okay, where in this leadership community, where is available? And it's really, I think of it as a new tool for this new challenge. I've heard from clients who have this solution, they said, this used to be a nice to have. This used to be something that was just helpful. People would kind of see it in their peripheral and be like, oh, okay, there's spaces available. Or they'd see a bunch of gray or red to indicate that spaces are reserved. And they'd say, that's nice. Okay, great. I can go to another floor. Now people are telling us that Live Map is their first stop in the morning. Right? This is after they hit all their checks along the way in. They go to see where people are congregating if they want to use the workplace to connect with coworkers. Or if they're there for a particular meeting and they're just looking for a heads down place, they're going to look at Live Map and see, where is all that green? Where is available space? Where can I keep my distance from everybody? And so it's really this tool that gives this immediate spatial awareness to what's happening, so they don't wander around the office and not accidentally bumping into people. And so it's really now become a critical tool. And that's, again, helping people feel comfortable. The next that's talked about here on the slide is booking space with your phone, right? So we have a mobile app we call Steelcase Find, and that helps you reserve space when you arrive. Again, you're avoiding wandering, and it also has the ability to really precisely narrow down to a specific type of space. So if you say, I'm here in the office because I need a video conferencing room and I need it for 3 hours and I need it on a particular floor, that's great. You can put all that criteria in and it shows you exactly the spaces that meet those needs and let you reserve it right there on your phone. So again, it's also not only just helping people move more quickly through the space, but some people have anxiety about touching, like a scheduler device or using any of these kiosks, and you can use your personal phone. And the idea I think behind that is that we have more comfortability using our own device, and that's more clean in that way. Although I'm sure you all probably have heard that data point that's like our phones have 10 times more bacteria than any given toilet seat. So like the answer is kind of, the jury's out on that one, but it is at least yours. So in that way, it's another tool to help people. And then the third one that we talk about in these hands-free workplace experiences is, to me, what I think is almost, it really speaks to why Steelcase is in this technology industry at all. And so before I kind of explain what is the touchless reservations, really the whole story goes to, I had heard our CEO speaking at a town hall, and he was answering this question, and he thought for a second, why is Steelcase doing workplace technology at all? And he paused after a moment, and he said, well, I wake up in my house, where I've got a smart speaker that tells me about the news, it tells me about traffic patterns, I have all sorts of routines set up. Many people out there, I'm sure, have smart speakers as well, smart homes. And then he was, a person who drives to work in a smart car. It's always connected to the internet, gives him navigation and wayfinding, helps him avoid traffic patterns, and gets, continuous firmware updates, like the car is always getting better. And then he said, after I drive from my smart home and my smart car, I arrive at my dumb office where everything is still as difficult as it used to be. And this was really how he wanted us to understand that we're not just putting technology into the office because we can. It's because that's what's necessary to create the experiences at work that we're trying to enable. And so touchless reservations is exactly that, where we can pair up that solution that gives quantitative data that I talked about as the data-driven workplace return, that's Workplace Advisor. We pair that with Room Wizard, that's being shown, that scheduler that's outside the room there in this photography. And what it does is, after a moment where the system detects that somebody has walked into a room, but the room hasn't been reserved, it can automatically book that and create a reservation. So it'll show up on scheduler outside, the Room Wizard, it'll show up in Outlook, and it will also show up in the data. And so that way people could, forego scheduling with their phone or with the Room Wizard at all, just walk right in, or it solves that same phenomenon in the opposite direction, where if there is a space that is reserved, but nobody shows up, like a no-show meeting or a phantom meeting, the system can detect that as well. Hey, it was reserved, nobody's here, waits a certain amount of time, releases it, sends a notification to the organizer, hey, we released your room. We see this happen all the time. It's this meeting every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. We have this stand-up meeting nobody goes to, but it's wasting all this time on the calendar. So again, by having technology in place, we get new insight and new capability to detect certain things and take certain actions on behalf of the users, right? We're trying to bring in automation and some of that smart home, really that feel of it where it's trying to be your assistant, trying to help you out. And then the last, visible from a distance, talking about Room Wizard and Live Map. This is really just about helping people navigate, right? We know that we're all kind of learning new protocols about how to navigate the office. And these additional visual cues, like where Room Wizard is signaling bright red or bright green to tell you what's available, Live Map tells you where you can go to find space. These are all just trying to reduce the cognitive burden of going through your daily life. And so, with all of this, we think that not only can it save people time at work and have increase in productivity and help you get to your meeting, get to what's important, but also we think that they can help keep people safe. And so that's why I'm always so excited to talk about technology. And I saw there was a fun fact in the deck, so I pulled one up, and Room Wizard, that solution that's shown there, was first launched. Sometimes I ask this as a question in the chat, like, take your guess, when was it first launched? The year was 1999. So just over 2 decades ago, Steelcase, we believe that we started this market of room schedulers and room devices. So little trivia for you. But anyway, I've said my piece on it. I know we're all kind of getting toward the end of the day here and thinking about that second drink. So I'll take whatever questions you've got, or I can talk in any amount of depth on anything I've just talked about, or not at all. If anybody wants to talk about something entirely different about technology, Teams or video conferencing, or wants to respond to this question, I'm happy to do it. Happy to chat.
Thanks, Zach. Well, before we open up our chat, does anyone have questions for Zach on some of the points he touched on with a smart and connected workplace?
Hi, this is Bob Cross from Cooper Standard.
Hey, Bob.
We are using a similar technology today. I don't know if they would be a competitor or not. Place something, I won't say the name here. But I'm curious to know, you can do the whole book the space, and you can identify offices as bookable and all that. But one thing it does not do that your product does is identify if a room is being used and automatically book it. And I'm curious to know if that's a technology that you sell separately, if that's a camera that's in the room that's just tuned to always be on and looking for people, and how do you count the number of people? Is it you have sensors in the seats, or how do you deal with that? Thank you.
Yeah, no, good questions. Yeah, thanks, Bob. So yes, we can find a way to fit our solution in there to bring hands-free reservations, or the auto book experience. The product is Workplace Advisor, and we talk about that being paired with the reservation system. So I think, based on what I'm hearing, that these two would be compatible. But Workplace Advisor is a system of motion sensors. They use technology called passive infrared, so they're very uninvasive. They just know about heat in motion, and it's the same technology in most motion detection systems. So it's innocuous. We're not trying to get into any Big Brother situation. But what the system does is it has multiple sensors in space that detect motion, processes it through an algorithm, and then it will, after a certain amount of time, after say 5 minutes after the start time of the meeting, it will kick out a trigger to the scheduling system to reserve a walk-in meeting. So it's Workplace Advisor that is doing all the hard work. And then, yeah, I think there's absolutely the opportunity to kind of bring other things to that. But yeah, I would say let's talk more. We can kind of figure out how we can make that work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Did any of the smart connected tools kind of stand out to you that you wish you had in your own office? You can use the chat feature to cast your vote.
I do think, yeah, we talk about them as an ecosystem of solutions, right? So, Charity, yeah, with all of them, put together, you get to create these new ways of working. Teams tricks, yeah, so the custom backgrounds, that's one that a lot of people talk about. So up in Teams in the top right corner, there's the 3 dots, those ellipses, more actions button. So you can turn on or apply background effects. That one is obviously very popular. People like to blur their background. You can add your own custom images. If you were to search Microsoft Teams custom background, it'll tell you very simply like where you need to take your pictures and you put them in a special folder that's in your computer there. And then they'll just show up in the list, which is pretty cool. And then I think somebody else was talking about the together mode where like Teams can make it seem like we're all in this big auditorium, which is kind of cool. Oh, yeah, that's right. There's a picture in chat there. So,
Charity did that.
yeah, Charity was checking that out. So yeah, Teams is pretty cool. And I would say there's a lot of things that you can do in it, but also a lot of the work to be done to like have a good experience on Teams is done here in the physical space. So this is, one extra reason to call your friends at NBS, but like having good lighting and having a good space to present from is like half the battle sometimes. So I always say like turn on some lights. Cameras love light. So a couple quick tips. I wasn't sure exactly where you wanted me to go with that, Art, but yeah, I hope that helped.
Oh, that's great. Anything to liven up the day of being on screen all day long.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Got the firework and graphics in there. That's sweet. Yeah, Tony brings up that, yeah, everybody is remote, or 85% of the team is working remotely, and definitely closed all conference rooms and meetings. But yeah, no, that's a very real challenge. So I think a lot of organizations are either investing in ways to make remote work more palatable, right, by giving better tools like this moment in time pushed us off the ledge, and we all started using Teams not just for video calls, but for threaded communication. So that is, everybody communicates now in what's essentially a Teams group, but it's really a chat room. And then within that, you have different channels for different topics. And there have been some of our team who've been using another system similar to Teams called Slack. But really, I see this as the way forward, is that you used to walk over to the finance team to go talk about, proposals or quotes or whatever it was. Now there's a channel for that, where that's specifically where this conversation's happening. And so I think it's a little hard to ignore the fact that in a lot of ways, work went remote or became virtual. And so we need to have new tools for new challenges. And then that's why I also make the same point as to say, our technology solutions, we think of in the same way, right? It's that people need to have better tools to tell them what's happening in the space or how they can navigate it without running into everybody. And that's why we think when people do come back to the office, they're going to have a higher expectation for these technology-based experiences. Need a camera and a microphone on my computer? Yep, I get that, Barb. That is nice and simple, tried and true. Any tools for tracking employees' productivity for remote employees? Yeah, there's actually, again, a Microsoft tool that I believe they call it Insights. And it doesn't necessarily like get directly to employee productivity, but it talks more about what an individual does, or it starts with you, actually. I get these reports now. You can find it, I believe it's Microsoft Insights if you search that. But you can turn this on, and because it's Microsoft and you're on Outlook, it knows who you communicate with and how often. It knows what your calendar looks like, and it tells you how much time are you dedicating to focus time, to heads down work, to meetings, how often do you get interrupted? And I would absolutely take a look at that, Tony, or anybody else who's curious about this. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correct. It's called Microsoft Insights. That's how I would begin, because you already have an install base, or you've already got all the data as people are using Outlook and Teams already. And so it just tries to pull and define extra meaning from that. I've heard it termed as digital exhaust. By the very fact of you using your email and calendar, it can tell you things about your life at work.
This is John Barber from NBS. Again, it's not, like you said, it's not a big process, right, to put a live map in somebody's, one per each floor off the elevator, right? It's basically us working with you, sending the CAD plan of the floor plate, and then installing some sensors. It doesn't take a lot. It's not a huge thing. And actually, we're not going to talk cost, but the cost is actually pretty economical, and we could, treat that one-on-one with anybody that's interested to talk about. But it's not a huge cost, especially when you're talking about the the benefits of productivity and time not wasted.
Right. Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Pretty simple solutions to deploy. And so Live Map is not that much more complicated than a large format display connected to a computer, which I can help with that conversation. Those are my people. So we could work through that. And then, yeah, Workplace Advisor is that system that gives Live Map the live data about what's happening, the real-time occupancy data about these spaces. And that's also sensors. Those are deployed using like a custom adhesive that's meant for this application. And those get installed in a few days. It's depending on the scale of the installation, could be even less, right? Installed in an afternoon. So these are not technically that complicated, especially where I was talking about the data-driven workplace return. That's a system that's installed where it doesn't connect to your IT networks. We don't have to go through all those conversations. And that is absolutely less than a day install for most major projects. So, getting started with this, or at least, doing the 90-day program here gives you an idea of what facilities and real estate decisions you can now make reinforced by data, as opposed to, the hearsay, just trying to speculate about what you're seeing and hearing. So I think you're exactly right. These are not too terrible difficult, and yeah, happy to explain that, or even help explain what the project would look like if you want to go forward with that.
And with that, what's the other plan past the 90 days?
Yeah, so you got a couple options. One, you can re-up for a short amount of time, or as somebody might recognize and say, hey, this is really working well for us. We want to add in Live Map, or we want to add in AutoBook. We can transition. That same exact hardware can stay installed. There's no deinstallation. We can transition into an ongoing 1-year or 3-year subscription. The 3 years got a really nice price incentive. It takes up just over 30% of the total cost. So that subscription is just one of the options. But the whole point that we're really trying to get to is not necessarily thinking about data collection as a point in time, but I use the phrase like keeping your finger on the pulse of your workplace, because we know that many organizations, perhaps yourselves included, will invest in a space on, say, a 4 to 8 year timeline. So you might do a major project and everything is wonderful. All the spaces meet the needs. You probably did user interviews to understand, what do people need? What do the teams want to see in their workstations? But then almost a half a decade elapses where that space slowly loses its appeal, right? It begins to miss the mark. We might come in and do, an update at somewhere along, like I said, the 3-year mark there, and kind of fix a few issues, patch a few holes. But we always see that there's this major decline. People always, will gravitate, and they're like, they self-select. They say, I don't want to use those spaces. So the whole point is to really, by having data, you can be very precise and intentional about your, call them micro investments. Like you can make small database changes to say, we know that these are issues. Now you can almost work through the list of least used space as a punch list for reinvesting in. That you can kind of change the way that you think of facilities management and really turn that on its head. So I know that's a long answer, but that's how we talk about it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Great questions. And in essence of time, we're going to move along here. We always do a fun little prize drawing at the end of our Wind Down Wednesday. So the lucky winner here is going to get 2 NBS insulated wine tumblers and another margarita kit. So if you enjoyed your margarita today, you get to have another one to enjoy later on. So I'll do a little
Drum roll.
and it must be still on the call to win here. So is John Stryber still on the call?
I am.
Hey, great, John.
Thank you.
Well, congrats. I'll get this over to Jack, and we'll get you your prize.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. And
Well,
then,
congratulations, John. And wanted to say thank you again to Zac, who was an amazing speaker today that really kind of informed us not only on smart and connected spaces, but also on some cool tips and tricks on how to use our teams more effectively as well. So appreciate your time today. If you guys have more questions for Zac, you can feel free to put them in the chat or reach out to your NBS representative.